Welcome to the first State of the Hip Hop Union episode. And I'm going to basically be addressing some opinions, some facts, and some things that are going on currently in the hip hop culture. And I'm going to be giving it from the perspective of a producer that's independent, right? So I have an outside look into what's happening as far as music creation, music manufacturing, and music distribution. And also, I have an understanding of how to create music. So there's going to be a lot of criticism that you're not going to enjoy simply because you're going to be emotional about how you feel with certain artists and certain genres of music. But I'm going to be expressing these things free flowing, regardless of how you feel. And you can leave it in the comments. I honestly don't care. But going forward, today's topic, this week's topic, actually, because this will be a weekly series, I'm going to be addressing the hierarchy in hip hop this week. So I wanted to explain to you, especially if you're new to hip hop, and what new to hip hop means. You're under 40 years old. That's new to hip hop, okay? And if you don't agree with me, leave it in the comments. But for those of you that don't understand how a hierarchy essentially is supposed to work, is that the person with the most value, most effort, most quality gets the highest benefit, the highest recognition, and the highest status. But what has happened oftentimes in typically hip hop culture, but you'll see this throughout capitalism in general, is that the metric to decide what is a quality versus a detriment changes based on where we place our emotional and sentimental value. To give you a more hip hop example, lyricism is now on a list of 10, probably number 8, where at one point it used to be in the top 4 or 5 benefits and qualities you needed to have as a hip hop artist, whether it was singing, whether it was rapping, whether you were just scatting on a beat with your DJ. There had to be some level of high quality lyricism, crowd control, emceeing, or some sort that was going to allow us to really connect with the music and deem it high quality. But today, a lot of you, especially the generation that doesn't produce in hip hop, a lot of the fans and the listeners have become active in the workspace of the hip hop industry. So now they're using their preferences to decide what is high quality instead of understanding that you don't get to really pick high quality, the market does, right? And in order to take control of that understanding, the fans decided to create narratives instead of just looking at the facts in front of them. Now, what do I mean by creating narratives? Have you ever heard of a rap blog? If you have, type it in the comments. If you have not, also type that in the comments. But what is the role of a rap blog, and why should you follow it as a consumer of hip hop? What is the importance of you even finding out what Tekashi 6ix9ine ate for lunch or what Rihanna drove yesterday? Why is that important to you as a hip hop consumer if you call yourself one? Now, if your answer is anything along the lines of it helps me relate to the music, I would challenge you on that, because most fans today are not invested in a singular artist for more than what the charts will represent. Now, what does that even mean? For many of you as consumers, you're not really understanding the process of making, creating, producing, mixing and mastering, and distributing an album. A lot of your experience with the hip hop industry has been reactive. We told you what to like. We told you what was dope. We told you which girls were pretty. We told you which guys were tough and scary. So when you ask the intellectual consumer of hip hop, what would you consider a reason to follow a rap blog? Honestly, the only thing they can come up with typically is going to be staying current, just knowing what's happening. But I have to challenge that as well, because even the intellectual hip hop fan tends to gravitate to their preferences and not necessarily what is moving the needle. And that's where you would have a person called your artist and repertoire agent or official or employee of your record label or organization help you find this information out. Now, since we don't have that as a collective, we've decided to rely on rap blogs that are not run by people that are equipped to do that job. So now, similar to the movies and entertainment we're getting today, we're getting a lot of copycat versions of what we love, right? And you can picture it from DMX up, Lil Wayne up. You can even see people copying from way in the back in the 80s of KRS-One and things like that. We called it biting at one point, but today it's become a commodity because hip hop sells a product, and that product is no longer music. It's barely lifestyle. It's barely culture. The product now is attention. So if I'm able to keep your attention for long enough then to get maybe a fraction of a penny on a stream, that's value. If I can keep your attention long enough to get you to click like on my TikTok and share it so your friends can play the video on their little TikTok dances, that's value. But what happens when that becomes the commodity for an industry? That when attention becomes a commodity for an industry, the benefits are now lowered as far as the standard. You as a fan, you don't get high quality music anymore. You get microwavable music, which is lowly produced, low quality, and the quality is determined by the market. And you will also get music that doesn't withstand time, because if you no longer feel attached to the music, you won't play it anymore. And the reason why artists like Michael Jackson, Prince, and all the legends you can name, coming all the way up to Snoop Dogg, Nipsey Hussle, and things like that, the reason their music stuck so well with us is because sonically, the quality was high, meaning they got the best producers, engineers, and musicians to help them create their ideas. This wasn't a basement record. The lyricism was high quality based on what the market decided. So their lyricism had to come from an authentic place, had to come from a unique perspective, and it also had to be delivered at 100% capacity and not as if, it was being phoned in because you're, depressed about some girl breaking up with you, like a lot of these R&B singers are doing. So what happens now, you don't need to have that as a standard. So now your standard as a fan is just going to be, is it new? This is why you see artists today of high caliber, A, B, C list, whatever you want to call it, promoting their music on Instagram stories, Twitter clips from other people's cell phones in the crowd. They can't promote their music anymore because promoting their music to the standards of high quality, you as a fan wouldn't accept. So what am I really pointing out here? I'm really pointing out that you, as a fan of hip hop, shouldn't really have any power as far as dictating what is high quality, lest you want to be a part of it. Now, some of you may cringe at that thought because you're used to being hip hop handed to you. And that's what I said in the beginning. We told you what was hot. We told you who was dope. And we told you which dudes were tough. And we told you which bitches was cute. So now that you can't have that control in your hands through via rap blogs, tweets, and all these other things, you feel offended. So in order to make a change as far as hip hop going forward, today, going into next week when we have this conversation, if you're a fan of hip hop, let me know in the comments. And I want to know, how do you plan on participating in the hip hop industry and improving upon what we have here? Now, that doesn't mean you have to go write an album because you're not good at it. You're a fan, right? You're not a musician. But what artists are you going to promote? What artists are you going to share? What artists are you going to support that are going to be beneficial to you as a fan? And how do you know it's beneficial to you if you're not educated, right? Most of you, the music that was given to you, your dad probably gave you that album. Your mom probably listened to that music. You don't search for music. You get on Spotify, and the first thing that pops up on there is either some wall of music you've never heard of and won't listen to because it's a commercial now, or you're going to rely on your preferences and just go to what you normally listen to. So how will you, going forward, push the needle in the hip hop industry as a fan of hip hop? Because it's not really up to the OGs and musicians anymore. They've lost all that power. They've lost all that power. Everything is gone down. The playing field is equal. There's a 12-year-old on TikTok tomorrow that could make a hit record and y'all will stream it millions of times. But if a legend from the 80s were to drop a single, would you search it? And why would you? And really be honest about your participation as a hip hop fan, especially if you don't feel satisfied with where hip hop is today, or if you feel like it can be improved. What part are you really playing in making a difference?